Hey, let's watch some weird stuff.
What do we really know about California? And why do all these ancient maps put the Red Sea next to this island? Is America the true Old World?
Pretty sure that's just Baja, California. I mean, there's something to be said for the orientation of that particular section of land being so far north. But listen, these guys are mapping shorelines with actually incredible accuracy from a ship using a sextant and the stars to navigate. I think it's a miracle that they were as accurate as they were, but I think this one here is probably Baja, California.
Ancient map from
Alright,
1587.
I'm gonna fuck y'all up with some shit on this one. Alright, this is the Urbano Monte map from 1587. Excuse me. North Pole. No ice. No ice around any of these areas, okay? There's North America, South America, Africa, India, Russia, China. Okay, so very similar to this map. North America, South America, Africa, India, China, Russia. Okay? Only thing different, Australia. There is no Australia here because it hasn't been discovered yet. This is 1587. Australia wasn't discovered until 1606. So that's why that's not there. But my main question is, if this is a globe flattened out and this is on the bottom, right? What the fuck is this?
Nice sound effect.
There's no ice on it. And guess what? Antarctica hadn't been discovered yet. Antarctica was discovered in 1820. And if you look, oh look, there's an alligator, there's a camel, warm weather animals. So, you want to explain to me, first thing, what the hell is this? All this land. And second thing, what froze them? What happened between 1587 and 1892 where those areas got frozen?
Yeah, this one reminds me of the Perry Reese map, which pretty accurately depicts the coast of Antarctica. I think there's a lot of things about Antarctica we don't know, the least of which is its shoreline. There's a lot of stories there, and the fact that the international treaty prohibits any kind of interaction on land besides scientific exploration, which is very tightly controlled. I think it's one of the last land of mysteries. I think there's something to be said, though, for some of these old maps that are so incredibly accurate in lots of different ways that show additional land masses and show Antarctica free of ice. Now, there's lots of fossil evidence on Antarctica showing fossilized tree life and biological life. So that's obvious. I think we just have the timescales off. It's very interesting, for sure.
The current version of history that we've been told is not only incomplete, it's just wrong. It's just flat out wrong. Whether they were big civilizations in Illinois 10,000 years ago, which there were, by the way. How can we not know that? We sent a man to the moon, and you can't replicate the technology that created. You don't even have a good guess as to how they were built? We don't. We don't even know when they were built. But why would anyone care? For suggesting that our historical timelines were wrong, and there had in fact been advanced civilizations in earlier moments in time, and that they had been eliminated somehow through climactic events, through natural disasters, and that we're not aware of them in any detail. Kind of seems to be true. Well, why don't we know that? And what does it tell us about ourselves and about the past that we don't know? That's what I would think people would ask. And I know that what I learned as a kid is wrong.
What do we know about ancient civilizations? And the answer is basically nothing.
This one's an interesting one. I think they're trying to reference the map that's on the upper right-hand corner of the map of the moon, which is, shows some interesting detail. I don't think it mentions what year this map was produced. I don't know. It's a beautiful piece of art, nonetheless. I think that considering the tools that people had to produce these maps, the year that they were produced, it's amazing that they were as accurate as they were. Some of them definitely show land masses that are either no longer there or no longer depicted on modern maps, which there's some debate there about where actual land masses lie and whether they're still there and they're just not on our modern maps. Interesting stuff for sure.
The paranormal chick here. So take a look at this old world map. There's so many interesting things that I have to tell you about it. It is crazy. First, this was made in 1565 by an Italian artist. Now, look at the continents. Everything is still together. I don't even see Australia. Then when you move over to the United States, Greenland, Canada, United States, Alaska, Russia, it's still one landmass. Interesting, right? Because I thought the continents separated hundreds and thousands of years ago. Mind you, this was made in 1565. Now take a look at some of those animals in the United States. One oddly looks like a griffin. And the crocodile, it looks further up north than where it's typically at now. Then you go down into South America, looks pretty normal. But then there's Antarctica. It's not covered in ice. And it should be. Take a look at it. There's animals there, there's land masses, and it's huge. Also, dragons, unicorns. What? This is a really accurate map. So, is the artist make believing? Is this a lie? Because everything else is pretty spot on. Tell me what you think.
I don't know, I think that, why wouldn't you produce whatever you wanted to? If you were a cartographer and you were mapping an area, you couldn't get into the interior of that particular area. Why couldn't you populate it with whatever you want? You could, who's gonna call you on it? You could pop in griffins and unicorns and yetis or whatever you wanted. By the time somebody gets into the interior of that continent, you might be dead for 100 years or 200 years. I think the interesting thing is the accuracy of the coastline in particular, and there are quite a few maps, ancient maps that show Antarctica free of ice. So I think there's definitely something there that we're just not aware of in modern times, and I definitely think that our modern maps are very tightly controlled, for sure.
Old map.
So it looks like a map's been flipped around on perspective. And that Tartaria is kind of an interesting thing I just ran across recently. That's a land kind of north of Manchuria and northwest of modern day China, which is now no longer on the map, but was supposed to be a significantly sized kingdom. I think these maps, they're beautiful. I love maps in general. I think the artists and how they created some of these maps, it's really an art form. I do think there are a lot of things in these maps, and you can draw certain correlations between them that point to certain truths that we just aren't shown. This one's just beautiful.
Just look at this map from the 1500s. This was the Americas, and not only the massive trees, but the castles, already there in 1500. And yes, the massive trees. The trees that we are told to dismiss what our eyes see. as nothing more than just coincidence, a trick of your eyes, that all these strikingly close similarities to these ancient formations' much smaller counterparts are just some form of pareidolia, and they're actually all volcanoes. Volcanoes spewing perfect hexagonal columns, just like the cell walls of a tree.
I think that's just insinuating that what they call a volcanic plug is somehow a petrified tree, gigantic petrified tree. I mean, listen, nobody alive today was there to verify that that is what this is, and I think it's a perfectly reasonable geological explanation for what a volcanic plug is. Could it be a giant tree that's petrified? I mean, we have a petrified forest not far from where I live, and I mean, they look very interestingly similar to these kind of volcanic plugs on a much smaller scale. I don't think they're giant petrified trees. I think it's fun, though, for people to look at things like this. I don't think we should ever close our minds off to possibilities. As soon as we become too narrow-minded, then we are cutting out a whole, not only just a magical sense of what the world around us could be, but we could miss out on perfectly reasonable conclusions because of that. I'm on the fence about flat Earth. I'm not a huge proponent for that. I do think that it's very interesting that a lot of ancient cultures depicted the Earth in a very similar fashion, with the firmament or the dome above and the whole flat disk governed by an outer wall. I think it's odd that so many cultures independently depicted the Earth in such a similar fashion. There's something there. I'm not convinced the Earth is a flat disk with a firmament of water above. And you know, I'm a religious believer. I think that would be great. But I don't think we have the evidence to support that. I do have some friends that are engineers, and it is a constant source of debate with them because some of them are flat earthers, which you wouldn't think engineers would be, but they are. And right now, until we know more, I think it's just fun. Thanks for hanging out. If you want to come back, we do this every other day or so. Please like and subscribe, really helps out. And have a good one.